Let's go.
Let me
I'm
just okay that. Yep.
talking to the magnificent Bjorn Strid from the Night Flight Orchestra. When I think of Bjorn, I think of Bjorn Borg. I think of Bjorn from ABBA, both
Yeah.
both Swedish royalty. So
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
you,
it's the official royal name of Sweden.
now you make the grade as well. Okay, how the you don't look old enough for the band to come together 20 years ago. Come on. How'd the band come together back in 2007?
Well, it started as a drunken idea on a tour that we were doing with Soilwork, my other band, and
Yes.
that's when I met David for the first time, who I started the Night Flight Orchestra with. And yeah, we quickly bonded over music and the aesthetics and the fashion art, whatever, from the late 70s and 80s. And we were doing a lot of, song battles in the back lounge of the tour bus in North America, looking out the window, playing great music and doing some drinking. And at the end of that tour, we really wanted to create a band, like a soundtrack of being in motion, like a soundtrack of being on tour.
Hence,
So that's how it
hence
started.
night
And we,
flight, hence the night
uh,
flight, hence night flight, the name.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, the name came up on an actual flight. We were going somewhere, I can't remember. I guess Southeast Asia, and we were the only ones awake on this big plane, and we're sitting there drinking Bloody Mary and listening to great music, and just having a great time. And I think that's when the name came up, the Night Flight Orchestra, when we felt like this is the greatest thing in the world, and we created a band that's like performing
Yeah,
on
and
a
how,
flight to
how,
it. Yeah.
how old was soil work at that time?
We started soul work in beginning of '96.
So you would have had your hands full with soil work, I would have thought, to, start another,
Yeah.
because the Night Flight hasn't exactly been a, 50-seat venue sort of band. They've got their own
Mm.
stuff going
Yeah.
on. So how do you fit them both in?
Well, I mean, I just felt that it was something that I needed to do, because at that time we already, released quite a few records with Soulwork. We had a big following. We were touring the world, but I don't know. I felt like I needed to do something more,
Well, no, I know.
something completely different.
Well,
So
consciously, I think we think we can do everything. So as we keep
yeah.
on pushing ourselves, eventually something stops us, whether it's a heart attack or death or something or other. But
Mm.
I feel you. I feel you. How would you describe your sound? Like there's a lot of descriptions here: classic rock, hard rock, punk rock, arena rock. What
Yeah.
do you think Night Flight is?
Well, I mean, in many ways, it is classic rock, and it's quite like a strong bond with AOR, and
Yeah,
whatever AOR
yeah,
means these days. It's kind
yeah,
of it's kind
right.
of a vague term, but ultimately, it's a classic rock band, and a very, I would say, what do you say, a cinematic one.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
we want to be really pretentious about it,
No,
but
no, no,
I
no,
think,
no, fair enough. And
yeah,
we're in that age. So a lot of bands are under pressure to make things perform, and they've only got one thing going on. And how did you like? You probably weren't under pressure. You didn't give yourself the same pressure that you normally would with this band, did you? Or did you? Did you make this? Did you give this the same effort, I suppose, as soil work, or was it a an add-on?
well, I mean, in the beginning, I guess it was sort of like a add-on, but it was also I felt it was a calling, something that I needed to do, and it quickly became very important, and sort of balanced things a bit, because I felt at times a bit frustrated in soul work because like there were certain things couldn't do, and sometimes I was doing things, but I didn't think like this is, I don't know, this doesn't work, I can't just throw things whatever in here. I think I needed to do something different as well, and then getting together for the first time to jam when we found the right members. I mean, I've never felt a greater like sort of um
Synergy.
yeah, like a musical sort of kick,
Right.
except for when we started Soilwork and had our first rehearsals and put our first songs together. It was that kick all
Oh,
over again, you know. And I
what's I
think
suppose?
I need,
Yeah,
yeah,
I was going to say each band has their own members as well because the Night Flight members aren't in soil work. You are, so they have their own thing going on and all that sort of stuff. So I'm sure
yeah.
that.
Well, Rasmus, the guitarist, is actually in soul work as well. He's playing bass in soul work, and but he's playing guitar in the Night Flight Orchestra. So we're actually two people, but. Yeah, I mean, the logistics sometimes can be a bit difficult. You know, we're trying to divide the touring cycles and the album cycles. Of course, there's going to be things bleeding into each other, but yeah, we try to
And
separate them.
after all this time, you've still got the hunger for it all because there's a lot of you've had a lot of success, and
Mm.
there'd be a lot of demand because we live
Yeah,
in a social media world where people can easily contact you and sort of say, "Why? When are you coming here? What are you doing? When's the new
yeah,
music?" and all that sort of stuff. So,
yeah.
we live in the most communicated sort of age that we've ever lived in. Is there a pressure with all that these days, or is it still just as much fun?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I feel a pressure. It's just sometimes, the traveling kind of takes a toll. I'm not 23 and a half anymore, so it's it's getting a bit tougher, and obviously going to Australia, it's not an easy thing. It's a very long journey, but then again, I'm not 72,
No,
so
no, no. But I presume
uh,
the families grow up, and the emphasis on where you spend your time changes a little, and you don't have to do it to sort of pay the bills as much and all this sort of stuff. So it sort of changes the sort of way you look at things. So uh,
yeah, and I mean, with the Night Flight Orchestra, I think I want to do it in a little bit of a different way as well, and be a bit more selective, and where every show becomes a bit more important, and that we can make it more of an evening with kind of scenario, more than just out there grinding and do like 5-week tours, play every day, and then when you've done that, you go into a different territory doing the same thing. I don't believe in doing that the same way, because I come from the metal world, obviously,
yeah,
and that's what I've been doing
yeah,
for so many years. And I think we've also become a bit more selected with soul work, and it doesn't mean that we slowing down completely, but we
yeah,
want things to be fun, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
think the fans deserve us being present at every
I
second where we go on a stage. So I think it's important, because if you start doing 5 weeks in North America, come home 2 weeks, and then you start doing 5 weeks in Europe, at some point you're not going to be present,
you're going to go now. That's right.
mentally. So I think our we deserve better.
It's
We
hard.
deserve better ourselves, and also the fans. I think in the end.
It's hard to get them, easy to lose them, and then hard to get them
Yeah.
back. So yeah, you got to look
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
for it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
Give Us the Moon. Tell us about Give
Yeah.
Us the Moon. Came out in January. Tell us a bit about Give Us the Moon, where it came from. It's the seventh album, and
Yeah.
what are some of the signature tracks, and what are you looking forward to play on this tour?
Well, it's a really special album in many ways. It's been a while since we released a new album, and we needed to take our time. And obviously, with the passing of our dear friend and guitarist David Anderson, who I started the band with, that was a really tough blow with his passing. And
Very sad.
it was a really dark time, and we had to find the joy in the music again somehow, as a band, and try to find strength, and turn it into something uplifting and encouraging, and which we eventually did, but we need to take our time. And I think something really special came out with this album. It's really an explosion of emotions. It's quite uplifting and positive, but it also has some melancholic passages, and I think it's very multi-layered, emotionally, when you listen to it. It has, going back to being quite a soundtrack kind of a vibe. I think it's our most sort of cinematic album to date in that sense, and I think you can also hear what we've been going through as a band, and losing David, but also being really set on showing people that we can still pull this off. So it was a big challenge, because he was
Yeah.
a major songwriter for sure, and I felt I had to sort of really, really dig deep to sort of replace. I mean, you can never replace what he did, but to sort
No.
of take his world with us and
Have,
do it our way.
have you
That was a
been
big challenge.
have you been touring it since January, March, or is this you haven't sort of pushed it out there much yet?
No, we have done a full European tour because we haven't done one in a while. So we did that in February and going into March, where we performed a lot of these songs on the new album. We did Stratus, we did Shooting Velvet, we did Paloma, we did Cosmic Tide.
Must have
Uh,
been a challenge in a sense, because you're
yeah.
tied into when you're playing them live, and most music played live is in the moment. You must
Mm.
feel Dave and all the stuff that you've sort of worked through. So especially the first time, that must have been a real experience for the fans.
Yeah, no, it was really emotional. I mean, David didn't really tour with the band the last 2 years. So while he was alive, he was, being quite sick,
Yeah.
he was not doing well at all, and that's when Rasmus came in to step in for him. So I guess some people were sort of used to seeing Rasmus playing live and David being more like of a songwriter, but still, I think it was really emotional for us to having this album out and going on stage and playing these songs because they come from somewhere, and you could definitely feel that, and I was thinking a lot about David,
I
and
could imagine. I could
while
imagine.
being on stage. Yeah, yeah,
I'd
yeah.
say, I'd
So
say
he's
you hear later this month, I'd say this one's going to be, the fans can expect more of the same. It's going to be I suppose for a year or two, you're going to, probably forever you'll experience it, but it'll be fresh for
yeah,
a fair while because,
yeah,
it's new. So that's
yeah,
good. So I'm sure the fans will look forward to that.
yeah.
What else can they expect this month when you're coming out?
Well, I think we've grown as a live band as well. I think we're just becoming better and better for every tour that we're doing, and the vibe in the band is really fantastic, and I think you can tell when you see us live. And if you didn't see us last time, you need to come out for this one. And it's been 2 years, and who would have thought? I mean, in the first place, coming to Australia with the Night Flight Orchestra, I didn't think that was going to happen, and it did. And now here we are, 2 years later, coming back. So. I think you know we've grown as a live band, and we've never sounded better. That's what they always say, don't they? But but
Oh,
we no, but no, seriously, I think we feel really comfortable, and
it's a big
we
statement. It's a big statement after 30 years to sort of say, 20 with Night Flight, but after 30 years to be saying you're doing your best stuff, that's a
yeah.
that's a pretty cool statement. So I'm sure that
Yeah, no, I mean, as a singer, I guess I'm a late bloomer because I feel like I can say that I never sounded better as a singer, and I'm just super grateful that it works and that I'm still developing as a singer. I don't take that for granted, but yeah, I don't think I lied to myself one bit when I say that. So
well, that's
that
good.
that's a great feeling.
Okay, let's do a bit of quick novelty stuff to finish this off, sort of thing. You've played with everyone, obviously, over the 30 years. Who you still to play with? Who you still looking forward to? If you could choose someone to play with, who would it be? Because you
I would have loved it. Yeah.
played on all sorts of bills. You've played in all sorts of events and festivals, I presume, and you've played with everyone
Mm.
all over the place. You've run into them. You probably know them all. Who's still to?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think here. I mean, I always wanted to do, I mean, because we did Ozfest in 2005 with Soilwork. We did, that was a whole summer together with Black Sabbath original lineup and Iron Maiden, just
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, insane.
Yeah, and then 2 years ago we got to open for Kiss with the Night Flight Orchestra on their two
Insane.
very last shows in Sweden ever, which just is just insane. Um,
Insane, insane.
so where do you go from there? But I mean, I always wanted to tour with Judas Priest because I always been a big fan, and I don't think that would have worked very well maybe with Night Flight, but with Soilwork, I think it could work out. So that's definitely something that I would love to do. And I mean, I mean, Rob, I mean, he's doing so well. Like it's crazy. These
Yeah,
vocals, I cannot believe it. So, you know, that there's hope. I hope I can sound half as good as that when I'm at that age. So, but, yeah,
well,
that's very
that's
inspiring.
something to look forward to. So,
Yeah,
you know, if word gets out, maybe he'll give you a call.
yeah. He likes the band. I know that much. So, yeah.
What's not to like? Come on,
Exactly. Yeah.
let's get fair income. Okay, let's finish with a few stupid questions. What's the craziest thing you've ever done?
Craziest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, and remember, you've got to get into the country, so you better not tell us that you've just buried
Exactly.
14.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I mean, playing with Kiss is one of them.
Yeah,
Because I mean, that's so
absolutely.
surreal when you're like 6 years old, start listening to Kiss, and then you start. I mean, that's just insane. And then,
Well,
you
also
know,
with the huge personalities, and
yeah,
the makeup. One thing that you can do with that, when Rolling Stones tours, you can tell they're 70. 75.
yeah,
When Kiss tours, you really can't tell because the makeup,
no,
you can probably tell by
exactly.
the action. Because we had them out here a couple of years ago, and they were
Yeah,
fantastic. They played at the MCG, and they were fantastic. Even in the open
yeah,
air, field,
yeah.
it was terrific.
Yeah, it was really cool, and we got to meet them as well. You know, Gene Simmons came into our dressing room, hanging out a bit and dancing with one of the backup ladies, and then
Just dancing,
yeah,
and
Paul Stanley came
and,
into us as well and talked for a bit, and then even Doc McGee came into our dressing room and presented himself and telling us he likes the band, and we didn't expect to, to meet them like that. It's yeah, that's
well,
crazy.
massive personalities. What's the one topic you can talk about for hours?
Well, I can talk about antiques and vintage stuff. I love going to flea
Collect,
markets and like yeah, I'm
collect.
into that kind of stuff.
I
Yeah.
was a pawnbroker in my past life. What's the
Really?
what's the thing you like most about yourself?
Um,
Hard questions, you see. I'm
yeah, no, I think I'm able to be myself in most situations that I'm very grounded. Like yeah.
I think
What you
it'd
see
be
is what you
easy.
get. So I never really put on a mask. I mean, of course, you enter some kind of personality going on stage, but as soon as I'm off that stage, I'm just Bjorn.
It's it's
You know?
it's easy in the world. A lot of people have difficulty with their thoughts and the mind because they can't work
Mm.
through ego. When you've had such
No.
a long term success like you guys have had, it's probably easier because once you've had it for a while, it becomes pretty normal, and everyone else sees you as something that you don't really see
Yeah.
yourself as. So
Mm.
I can see that as being a real plus. Okay,
Mm.
favorite album.
Favorite album? Oh,
We'll finish on these.
I don't know. There's so many. I'll just pick one of them.
Pick one.
Grace Under Pressure, Rush.
Great album. Great album.
Yeah.
Favorite artist. There's no test. You don't get marks for hitting the right answer.
No, I don't know. Since we're talking about the Night Flight Orchestra, I mean, one of the greatest ever is always going to be Elton John. So
Well, there you go. There you go.
yeah,
What a performer.
yeah.
Favorite movie.
I don't know. Somehow, when I said Elton John, that kind of linked me to that scene in Almost Famous when they do Tiny Dancer singing in the
Yes,
tour bus.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
such a
yeah.
beautiful movie. I
A
love it.
great movie, especially for musos.
Yeah.
Favorite place to visit. Australia. We don't even need to say it
No, no, but you
until
know
the
what?
end of
I'm
the
not
month.
lying one bit when I say that. Like once I'm there, it's the traveling there. But once I'm there, it's definitely a place where I feel right at home. And this is going to be my 12th time coming there. It's insane.
We, we love our
Yeah,
music. We do. The fans here,
yeah,
they're different to America. They're different to Europe because they're just different. They're different countries, and so
yeah,
we're pretty. I would say we're pretty smart when it comes to knowing our music and enjoying our music, as distinct from just
mm,
being primal. So I think
yeah.
we're pretty good fans. Favorite venue to play? You've played a few.
Favorite venue? Well, then I mean, sorry, I'm gonna have to go back to the Kiss show because that was
Sweden.
at like the yeah, it's Dalhalla. It's sort of like the Red Rocks of Sweden, the equivalent. It's
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of like
yeah. Home
you
crowd.
need to look it up.
No, I
You
will.
need to look
Home
it up.
crowd, Kiss. I don't think it gets much better than that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's just an insane place. Yeah, very
Insane.
special.
Favorite food?
I would say Korean or Vietnamese.
There you go. Favorite drink? That's I wouldn't have picked that. Favorite drink?
Um, some kind of a bock beer, like sort of stronger lager.
And you've had a few. I can
Yeah,
imagine some of those plane trips or some of the after parties, after shows, because
yeah,
you must come off and you must come off on a huge high. You don't sleep for hours. You couldn't sleep for hours, so you've got to
yeah.
do something. So drinking's probably safe, I suppose. It depends on your partner. Drinking's safer than trying to fight off groupies. Favorite person in history, apart from me.
Favorite person in history. Uh,
They're just questions that are sort of, I'm a conscious sort of a guy, so I like asking questions that are a little, first thought sort of thing. Everyone asks normal questions. I like to ask some different questions.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's you can talk about
Dalai
historical figures. You can
Lama,
also,
your mum, your dad.
yeah, no, no. I would say my grandma. She died when she was 94 years old, and
Wow.
she was one of my best friends, and she was
Did
really
she
really
come? Did
special.
you come to a show, or was it too?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
She
no, no. She
did.
came to a show as well. She fell asleep even when she was like 93, 94. She was falling asleep to Soul.
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
So yeah,
That's a great story.
yeah,
That should become an advertisement.
yeah.
You can sell this to your grandparents.
Yes, exactly.
A new market. And
Yeah, yeah.
finally, what's your favorite tattoo? I can see you got tattoos there. What's the favorite?
I
That's a
have one
big.
of my dad here. Can show
Oh,
here.
wow, wow.
This is taken from when he was, what do you say, like a sailor, sea merchant, whatever, and he was traveling the world. He embarked on his first ship when he was 16. He's still alive. But I had to make this tattoo because it's taken from a picture where he's in his cabin with a Jimi Hendrix poster in the background. There's an aquarium, and he's wearing this Budweiser shirt and has a cigarette in his mouth, and it's just iconic. So
So he's got the
yeah.
Jimi Hendrix poster. You know who I interviewed? Was it today or yesterday? Might have been yesterday or today. I can't remember. I interviewed Eric Gales, who's the second Jimi Hendrix. Eric's
Oh
been
yeah, yeah.
about 30, 40 years, and he's fantastic. And
He's great. He's great. Yeah.
he had this. He's got this video that this with Joe Bonamassa, where they're
Yeah.
having a rap. It's fantastic. So Jimmy, the great Jimmy. All right, that's it. That's it. That's all there is. Have a have a
Yeah.
have a great tour. Have a
Thank
fantastic.
you so much.
Have a great trip. And we'll keep. We've been following you for forever, and we'll keep following you. And when all the new music comes out, you probably got another 12 trips in you before you kick it, I'd say.
Maybe. Maybe.
We
Let's
look,
hope.
we look forward to seeing you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us, and thank you for the support.
Thank you very much, mate. All the best.
All
Be
right.
well. Bye.
Okay. All the best. Take care. Bye bye.